Well, Secretary Chris Wright and EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin, thank you guys for sitting down with us. I want to start with you, Secretary Wright. This week, the Department of Energy announced 2 private sector partnerships, one with Advanced Micro Devices, the other with NVIDIA. And this is in an effort to build multiple AI supercomputers. So tell me what the overall goal of this is and why it's so important to have these public-private partnerships.
AI is going to transform our world in massively positive ways. We're going to be able to deal with cancer much faster than we could have before, huge health impacts of it, but it also has national security impacts. So as the president has said so eloquently and so forcefully, we have to lead in AI. So to do that, the government's got to run differently. We got to be more like a business. So instead of a normal procurement process, we've had AMD and NVIDIA, and you'll see others that have said, we're going to come build massive data centers on your lands. They use a large amount of that computing power for commercial purposes, and we use a lot of that computing power to advance science, drug discovery, new materials, new energy systems, and maintain our stockpile, modernize it, advance it, stay in front of China on national defense as well. It's a win-win of both sides, and it allows us to move fast.
Part of doing this, though, is to get AI, quote, on the grid. What does that mean?
So AI is energy intensive. It takes a lot of electricity, but you can't imagine a higher value use of energy. You put electricity in, you get intelligence out. But that requires us to get out of the slow crawling gear we've been in growing our electricity grid. And if we're going to lead China in AI, we need massively more energy. This is America. We can do that, but we've got to change the way the government's been rolling.
Well, Administrator Zeldin, with the idea of these supercomputers with AI in mind, they're obviously going to require a lot of energy, as we're hearing from Secretary Wright. Are there any environmental concerns from your perspective?
So we have a national security benefit by doing this work. We have the economic benefit, obviously, from unleashing energy dominance and making America the AI capital of the world. But it's also filled with enormous environmental benefit because we tap into these energy supplies so much better and safer than so many other countries elsewhere around the world. We have been proudly doing enormous great work to protect our environment all year long. Now our message, and President Trump obviously is our leader, not just here in the United States, but we've seen over the course of the past several days in Asia. He has been bringing so much investment into our country, letting all these investors know that we are going to operate in a new way, thinking outside the box to get things done faster. So permits will take less time, cost less money, and have more certainty. And that means trillions of dollars coming into the U.S. I was in Cheyenne, Wyoming, where not only did I visit a new data center that was getting built in Cheyenne, but I went an hour away where a brand new mining operation had just started to tap into rare earth materials. When we think batteries, when you think chips, when you think magnets, the list goes on. Our lives, from the moment we get up in the morning to the moment we go to sleep at night, we might forget or take for granted just how much of our life is impacted by these resources, by chemistry, by investment, the jobs that are created, the boost for our economy, the price of goods that go down, and just from a standpoint of international engagement, we don't want to have to rely on China.
AI is something that, I think we can all agree is going to touch all areas of our life at some point. Secretary Wright, you guys are looking at it, though, from the perspective of nuclear energy. So tell me how we're going to see AI combine with nuclear to benefit the American people.
The technology is fantastic. Small amount of land, small amount of fuel can generate a massive amount of energy. But how do we operate them efficiently and build them cheaply and make it happen fast? AI is going to rapidly accelerate our ability to make reactors fast, cheap, and get more power. And you get more reactors online and more power, that's going to accelerate AI. You get a virtuous circle of AI making nuclear better, nuclear making AI better. But these are the kind of innovations and bold moves that wouldn't have been possible under a heavy, bureaucratic, afraid of our shadow government. I think President Trump's bold leadership is unleashing American innovation.
One of the things as it relates to energy that we have seen happen is that sanctions have been placed on Russian oil, and it's already impacting countries like Hungary and India. So what happens next here?
So President Trump, maybe top of his agenda has been peace. It is incredible how relentless he focuses on this. What's the creative idea, the economic leverage, the personal leverage, the energy leverage that we can bring this war to an end and get people back focused on commerce and not conflict? And Russia, its biggest source of currency, its biggest funding mechanism for its war machine is money selling oil abroad and money selling natural gas abroad. So these sanctions probably are going to be the most biting sanctions against Russia ever. And that's what it's going to take.
Except we need to get the government back open to do a lot of things. Now, Secretary Wright, you've talked about the fact that the nuclear stockpile is safe despite the government shutdown, but there's no forward progress right now being made. So how has the shutdown impacted Department of Energy?
People think of us as energy, which is a big part of our job, but the other half is America's science and America's nuclear stockpile, building, constructing, maintaining America's nuclear weapons. They're safe, they're good right now, they're controlled by the Department of War, but our department is responsible for modernizing them. Those efforts are just gaining steam right now, and now all of the workers that are contractors that work on that are about to be given furlough notices. And these are people that have been working for decades on our weapons, and they're contractors, so if they get laid off and they're gone for 2 or 3 weeks, they're not going to get back pay. We need a few more common sense Democrats to understand, don't put at risk the modernizing of our nuclear architecture. Sort out your political differences when the government's open, but don't send workers home that are critical to our national defense.
And Administrator Zeldin, I know that at EPA, just a little over a week ago, you guys had to furlough a whole host of workers. How has this shutdown impacted you?
Thousands of people furloughed. Over the course of this entire year, we've been going through an agency-wide reorganization. We have gone from over 16,000 employees when we first came in to 12,500 by the end of this year. But what we want to make sure we are fulfilling are all of our core statutory obligations. When we came in, we inherited these massive backlogs, and we've been getting on top of all of it all year long. We want to continue that progress for the American people. A total lapse of funding is an 89% reduction of our agency, which means that a lot of the president's priorities, the American public's priorities, wouldn't be able to be met.
Administrator Zeldin, when you rolled back a lot of those regulations, you sent climate alarmists head spinning. Everybody was in a frenzy over it. However, one of those climate alarmists we've all heard from for a long time, Bill Gates. He said, although climate change will have serious consequences, it will not lead to humanity's demise. What is your response to that?
One of the big differences between the Trump EPA and our predecessors is that we chose to both protect the environment and grow the economy. We reject the notion that it's a binary choice between the two. And the left got so over their skis in misusing and abusing these organizing terms. In the name of climate change, there is a willingness to bankrupt families, cause extreme pain to families that can least afford it. And what's happened over the course of 2025 is that the left now says, to quote a former Obama official, they've lost the narrative on climate. Because we have been stating the obvious, and that the American public agrees with us. We choose both, protecting the environment and growing the economy.
And it turns out we don't have to get rid of all the cows or stop eating meat altogether. We can have it all. Secretary Chris Wright and Administrator Lee Zeldin, thank you so much for sitting down with me.
Great to be with you.
Thanks for having us.
A sneak peek when My View returns.